Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss RocknRolla, starring Gerard Butler, Tom Wilkinson, Idris Elba, Tandy Newton, Mark Strong, Tom Hardy, Carol Roden. I don't know if I said that right. Please forgive me. Toby Kebbell, Jeremy Piven, and Ludacris, directed by Guy Ritchie. Now, I remember going to theaters for this and being bored. Well, not really enjoying myself. Bored's not the right word for it, but I remember it not being very good, and is it still the same? Well, let's get into it. We start with the definition of RocknRolla, and it's very complicated with the narration by Archie, played by Mark Strong, who works with a mob boss named Lenny Cole, played by Tom Wilkinson, as his co-workers 1-2, played by Gerard Butler, and Mumbles, played by Idris Elba, as they can't get the building because they're fucked, and that's how we see Lenny work at he's a mob boss, and he's in control of the government in London. And Lenny meets with Yuri, played by Carol Roden, in the Billionaires Club, and Lenny admires the painting with good luck and insists Lenny to have it for good luck, while Yuri poisons Lenny as Lenny learns that, and when he's in the car with Archie, meanwhile, we meet Stella, played by Tandy Newton, in a limousine. And I don't understand this plot so far, as it's all over the fucking place, and I don't like the characters either. 1-2 has a chat with Mumbles about his deal with Stella, and they go to her for the deal and to rob the bank she banks at, and just to give these people a black eye, nothing more, nothing less, while Lenny makes his own deal with the counselor, or counselor as they call him, in which I don't understand as per usual. And I can't understand half the dialogue in this movie, as Lenny was robbed with the painting Yuri gave him, aka the Lucky painting, and tells Archie about it, as Archie asks Danny to slap a man for asking a stupid question, and that was a bad scene being acted by these actors. Even Mark Strong, who I like as an actor, meanwhile, 1-2 and Mumbles rob a car with Stella's money and forget to take the keys and start the car, and don't know how to reverse the car, which was painfully stupid, as this movie was and the acting was pretty painful to listen to. 1-2 and Mumbles call Archie and say they've got their money, and meets with a man named Tank, as he asks him to find the Lucky painting of Yuri's and pays him to look for it, while we meet Handsome Bob, played by Tom Hardy, while 1-2 and Mumbles are with them meeting with junkies, as Archie arrives to meet with them, while Stella has a business meeting of some kind, and the cinematography is not great, as it's shot fine, but it's not great. 1-2 is driving Handsome Bob, and Bob says he wants him, and is this character a homosexual? Because I get the impression he is, as 1-2 is pissed off about it and went over the top, and this scene was not my favorite, while Tank meets with Archie with some news about how he finds the Lucky painting while Lenny tortures a couple of men being fed to some crayfish, until they give him the right name, and he names a dead name, which happens to be Lenny's stepson, Johnny Quid, played by Toby Kebbell. And Archie looks for his managers, Roman, played by Jeremy Piven, and Mickey, played by Ludacris, and none of this is making sense to me. We move on to 15 years earlier, as Lenny slaps Johnny and disrespects him, but beating him with his belt, as we see Johnny as an adult, and he picks fights with 3 men in a bar, and a record dealer, June, played briefly by Gemma Arterton, tries to stop Lenny and Archie meet with Roman and Mickey and try to find Johnny, in which they don't, as 1-2 is told Handsome Bob is in love with him, while 1-2 gets a call from Archie, as Stella calls Archie to arrange a meeting, as she has a job for him, and the movie ultimately falls apart. Yuri is upset because Lenny lost his fucking Lucky painting, and Archie hears about, while June tells Roman and Mickey to look for Cookie, who knows Johnny, while 1-2 Mumbles and Handsome Bob are at a party led by Stella, and 1-2 dances with Stella, and she asks him for the same robbery as the same time with him. And Mumbles and 1-2 tell Mumbles about it, and while Handsome Bob gives Stella's husband his number and asks for paperwork, and Johnny tries to get into a club where Roman and Mickey are at, and Johnny beats the living shit out of the guard, which was the silliest scene in the whole movie, in my opinion. 1-2 says to Mumbles he doesn't want Handsome Bob to be the driver, and everyone knows except 1-2 knew about it while going on the same job as before, but with Bob as the driver, while Roman and Mickey gets a cookie and to ask where the fuck Johnny is at. And this movie is all over the place, like I brought up earlier in the show, while Lenny and Archie meet with Yuri, and he walks away, and Archie tries to reason with Yuri, while 1-2 delivers Stella's money while injured, as he explains someone tried to steal the money from him, and they drive in a sporting store, and that's how he ended up scarred, and some of her money is missing, and that was a terrible recap. 1-2 Mumbles and Bob get separated until Mumbles picks up Bob on a motorcycle, and 1-2 almost gets killed, almost fainting, but ends up escaping until 1-2 realizes Stella is too dangerous and quits on her, while Lenny and Archie meets Counselor and says he can't do any more favors for Lenny, while Lenny grabs him by the balls, where we find out Johnny was the one who stole the lucky painting in the first place, and this movie is becoming a mess at this point. Lenny gets knocked the fuck out while at a golf course by Counselor's bodyguard. Handsome Bob, 1-2, and Mumbles make a call to Stella's husband, who is a criminal lawyer, and Johnny's friend and a couple of junkies come to Johnny as he tells them to fuck off as the junkies steal the lucky painting and sells it to some people, and Archie learns about it, and 1-2 gets a visitor from Stella and hump each other's asses, and then points her to the lucky painting while Lenny is in the hospital learning 1-2, Mumbles, and Bob have the painting, and I'm almost checked out of this movie, but not quite there yet. Roman and Mickey come to Johnny while Archie comes into 1-2's and place and see him getting humped, as this is humiliating for Gerard Butler, in my opinion, as Archie is alive, and while Bob and Mumbles arrive at the house, meanwhile Roman and Mickey get Johnny and Yuri coming in the house of Stella, and he asks her to marry him, and he sees his lucky painting and calls in Victor, while Johnny comes with Archie as he brings in Mumbles, Bob, and we go back to 15 years earlier as Johnny tries to steal Archie's gun. He gives a couple of kids, and Archie gives a couple of kids money to keep quiet as we move on to Johnny, antagonizing Archie, 1-2, Mumbles, and Bob, as well as Roman and Mickey. And they get to Lenny and have a meeting with them, until Lenny shoots Johnny and misses his heart, asking Danny to get rid of Johnny. And Bob has a note that says something about a law, as we learn Lenny is really named Sidney Shaw. And Johnny comes in with Roman and Mickey with the plan, and Johnny is shot but shoots the bodyguards dead, as Archie gets knocked out by 1-2, Mumbles and Bob, and feed Lenny to aka Sidney in the death by the crayfishes. And Archie gives Johnny the lucky art, which was unsatisfying, and the climax is unfortunately one of the bad movies in Guy Ritchie's career, and it feels that after viewing the film twice for this review. And is it that bad? Let's find out in a rating, shall we? I'll give this movie a 2.6 out of 10. Like usual, I can't understand a single thing these characters are saying, and I don't like the characters in this movie whatsoever, as the acting was painful to listen to, and the cinematography is not great, as it's shot fine, but not great in my opinion. The plot is all over the fucking place, as I don't understand it at all, while some of the scenes in this movie makes me no sense, as this movie ultimately falls apart, as it's a mess of a movie in my opinion, and as far as I'm concerned, this is not one of director Guy Ritchie's best works in my opinion. It's not the worst thing in Guy Ritchie's resume, as that belongs to Swept Away, and this is not a good either, And this is a solid non-recommendation for this, as this is really one of the bad movies in Guy Ritchie's career, and unfortunately it fills it based on viewing this movie twice, and a total of 3 times. So I would like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time we'll be back with Sherlock Holmes, another series I haven't reviewed yet. And until then, it's time to rock and roll.